We are aware that the president had 3 visits to the regions already, and this is going to be his second leg of doing 2 more regions. Talk to us about this visits to the regions. What are the objectives behind them?
Yeah, thank you. The real objective is in fact, they are twofold. The first is that the president is keeping the promise he's made to the voters, because during the election campaign, he went around, asked for their vote. They returned him they sent him to State House with 87% vote. Now he's going back to say thanks to those that have cast their vote and expressed themselves democratically. That's the first part. The second, which is even more important, is that we have initiated a series of town hall meetings now for the country that's relatively new. It's a concept that hasn't been tested here before. It's of course, it's normal in other much larger democratic dispensations. And in the town hall meetings, it's an opportunity for ordinary folk from all walks of life to engage the president. They are at liberty to ask any question they wish, and
Directly to the president.
Directly to the president, and the president answers those questions right there and there. Of course, in some areas, some regions, people have organized themselves in blocks, whether it is the business sector, the senior citizens, youth, and so forth. But from the floor, spontaneously questions are taken, and the president has to field them. It's something that most people have welcomed. As I said, because it's a relatively new development, but the fact that your first citizen sits down for hours on end, sometimes in the searing heat, to have to engage with the citizens. What then happens, the objective really is, once we've had the sessions, there are some questions that might not be answered right there and then. Some people can also do it so in writing. But afterwards, we return to the regional council where there are questions that we could not answer at the occasion. We will then give those still due consideration and give the regional council answers that are specific, not vague, it will be followed up, or not those kind of responses. It's exactly what is happening, would be the responses based on what people are asking.
How was the response from the side of the citizens in those parts of the country that you visited?
We've done the Zambezi region, and the 2 Gavangos. And it so happened that when we were in the Gavangos, it was also the day that the senior citizens received their 66% increase in their grants. And it's interesting that the senior citizens, everywhere we went, were extremely grateful. They would stand up, take the floor just to say thank you and sit down. Of course, us younger ones would ask questions, sometimes make speeches instead of asking questions, which is good. I mean, that's why the president comes out to hear all manner of voices. But generally, the reception is extremely, extremely warm. Most people are appreciative of the fact that they can't even believe that actually the president, in the first instance, kept the promise he made. And secondly, the fact that the president openly and candidly speaks to a whole range of issues, not through us as advisors or anybody else, but himself, as he knows the issues, give the responses. So that's appreciated. Of course, today we are in Umsati. We would commence this morning with an opening of a road. This is a 420 million public investment.
So it's not only about dialogue with the citizens, but it's also assessing the development in the regions.
Partly, he visits select sites. Of course, time being the only limiting factor here. But he selects specific sites that speak to broadly his aim at eradicating poverty. Now, what would some of these be? Typically, it would be areas where we can increase our efforts at food self-sufficiency. Right. So green scheme projects are important. And this morning, today, in the course of today, we'll be visiting one such. And then the effort there really is not just to see how wonderful these things are run, but it's to see what is it that we can do more so that Namibia's efforts at food self-sufficiency are accelerated. The other has to deal with infrastructure. And that's why the opening of the road is symbolic as one such example. of something that speaks to infrastructure development. Because you can't say that you want to eradicate poverty and end at feeding people. The president continues to speak about the fact that people need shelter, but of course infrastructure, road infrastructure, good road infrastructure, airports, and all of that is important. It also speaks to our ambition to, in 2030, be a fully industrialized country. And all of these component parts are going to play a big part in that industrialization drive.